1. White robes stained crimson with blood. I'm propped up by tree branches, one knee half knelt in the dirt, limbs shattered, a gaping wound torn open at my nape, trapped and helpless. This was supposed to be where I died, alone on this godforsaken cliff. Then, cutting through the wind, came a tinkling chime of palace bells, followed by a woman's sultry laugh, growing closer, finally stopping just out of reach. My throat worked dryly. I couldn't even lift my head to see who'd come. Heart hollow, a single tear traced through the grime on my face. She stood there for what felt like forever before stepping forward. A man in red robes approached slowly, his presence heavy with intent. His voice was light, flirty, but laced with something sharper. A smirk curled beneath it. Since the righteous took power, I haven't seen someone quite this broken. A hand, pale as jade, caught my chin and lifted it up. The sight that met me. A pair of half-lidded almond eyes, and a face so dazzling it felt like magic. Our gazes locked. He flickered with something, almost pity. His fingers brushed gently across my face, wiping away the blood until I was revealed, still strikingly beautiful beneath the ruin. A quiet thought stirred behind his eyes. I thought he knew me. Then silence, and slowly, that crimson mouth curled into a smile. Now that's a face worth remembering. How about joining my harmonious sect? I've got a feeling you've got real talent. Her body trembled, weak as paper. Her eyes stared blankly ahead, unfocused, cold seeped into her bones. Life slipping away like sand through fingers. Sounds faded to a distant hum. All she knew was that right then, he was the only thing keeping her alive. She summoned every ounce of strength, just enough to twitch her fingers and catch hold of his crimson sleeve. He raised an eyebrow, breath soft as a whisper, leaning in close. You're such a pitiful little thing. Want me to save you? Then call me master. Properly. Darkness closed in, last breath barely stirring her lips. She broke the vow she'd made as a girl. Let someone else hold her. Whisper another name into the dark. Blackness swallowed everything, like a dream. Then a sigh brushed against her ear. When I was a kid, I lived in a tiny village. My dad was a hunter, and my mom could cook up a storm. The village might have been small, but it had its fair share of breathtaking views. In springtime, tender green shoots pushed through the soil. I'd trail behind my mom with a basket, picking out weeds and sorting them one by one. Back then, I kept mixing things up. My mom would holler my name loud enough to shake the trees, chasing me down just to give my backside a swat. I'd bolt through fields and alleys, sprinting from sunup straight into golden hour, until I spotted Dad coming home with a rabbit slung over his shoulder at the foot of the hill. He was dark-skinned, grinning like an innocent fool. Every time he showed up, Mom would take the rabbit from him and call off the war. She'd glance between me and Dad, then declare with a laugh, "Tonight, we're stewing that rabbit." On the way back home, Mom hooked her arm through Dad's, while Dad hoisted me onto his shoulders. The sun dipped low, and life went on like clockwork, until one day, a group of disciples from a grand immortal sect passed through. A new recruit, messing around with fire magic he'd just learned, lit a thatched hut on a whim. Then the flames spread like wildfire, leaping from house to house till the whole village burned down. The old village elder dropped to his knees, begging the young so-called immortals for mercy. But they just laughed, pointing and mocking. Ha ha ha. Look at them. Clumsy as turtles. Hey hey hey. That fire's dying out. Give it a little push. There's a family trapped inside. Kids already gone, but the parents won't let go. Mortals are such fools. The culprit sighed, shaking his head at how pathetic human bonds were. He treated lives like toys, mocking them for clinging to love, like a tiny arm trying to stop a runaway cart. How can someone like that even call themselves a true immortal? My father was covered in black ash, fighting to save people, still watched helplessly as our neighbors one by one burned to death. In the end, even the quietest, most honest man among us picked up a bow and arrow. "You monsters!" He was furious. How dare mere ants try to move a tree? That day, the beautiful village turned into scorched earth. The immortals rode the wind and swords away, laughing like 100 lives were no more than ants beneath their feet. My mother hid me in a water barrel. I survived only by sheer luck. I kept telling myself, I have to live. As long as I'm alive, they'll one day die too. That's when Sebastian appeared. He floated above on his sword, while I stood soaked in the barrel, sobbing uncontrollably. The sword vanished. He scanned the ruins around him. His white-soled shoes stepped onto ash-covered ground, and his big hand wrapped tightly around my small one. From this day forward, you're mine, Sebastian's disciple. As long as I draw breath, I'll keep you safe. That moment, I thought I'd found my God. But it wasn't the savior. It was him who sent me straight into that death trap. And it was him. 3. I grew up slowly within the Yushu sword sect. Talent and hard work had me far ahead of my peers in cultivation. My future should have been bright and boundless, until the day I finally killed my enemy. But none of it ever got started, not even a trace of that enemy found yet. Then Sebastian brought back a boy named Daniel, his eyes full of concern. He let the boy hide behind him, clutching his sleeve without a shred of decorum. Daniel, this is your older brother Michael. Daniel chirped out a cheerful, big brother Michael, then leaned in close to me behind Sebastian's back, voice all soft and sweet. Big brother, please look after me from now on. But then he was flung backward with a snap, crashing onto the ground, coughing up blood. Right in front of Sebastian, he pointed at me, trembling. Brother, I said the wrong thing. I'll take whatever you want to do. Beat me, punish me, anything. Eyes blazing red, voice cracking. Then he flung himself into his master's arms, shaking with fear. Sebastian's cool brow knotted tight. His gaze shot straight to me, a flicker of anger in the depths. Michael, is this how you act as an elder brother? Jealous of your peers like this? You've got no dignity left at all. Daniel shivered in his arms, voice barely a whisper, eyes red-rimmed and choked. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have told the senior brother that Master favored me. I made him feel uneasy. Master, please don't blame the senior brother. He's not at fault. It was all Daniel's mistake. Sebastian let out a cold scoff. You're just new here. How could I punish you? It's me who spoiled him. So on Daniel's first day in the mountains, I was sentenced to 30 lashes in the enforcement pavilion. The pain in my body, Master's lack of trust. It crushed me till I could barely breathe. I shut tight. I suddenly remembered the strange symbols that appeared when I touched Daniel. What the hell was that? For I'd been uneasy from the start, and only after Daniel got hurt did everything finally click. The back mountains of the Yushu sword sect were sealed off by a massive sect-wide formation. Trapped within was a terrifying celestial demon. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Twisted, unnatural, and powerfully dangerous. From the day I first stepped into the sect gates, Sebastian had warned me flat out not to go near it. A rule so well known even newcomers knew about it. But somehow, just a few months in, Daniel had gone and broken that taboo, sneaking into the forbidden zone. The demon seal was shattered by blood, and instantly, the entire formation trembled, sending shockwaves through the whole sect. That's when they realized someone had breached the back mountains. By the time all the elders and Sebastian arrived, Daniel was already lying on the ground, barely conscious. When I got there, he was sobbing uncontrollably. My senior brother said my cultivation wasn't strong enough. Said there were herbs in the back mountains that could boost power. Told me to come alone. He cried like his heart had broken. Every word poured out with such raw, convincing grief. The sect master furrowed his brow, about to step in and defend me. But then Sebastian roared, "Kneel!" I froze in place. Even though Daniel's only been here a few months, I'd long grown used to my master's favor. But this? I was the one he raised from childhood. If no one else believed me, he shouldn't have turned against me. He promised me himself. As long as I'm around, no one will bully you. And now he's shouting at me over some other guy? My lips pressed tight. I fought back the tears, staring hard at Sebastian. Then Daniel played his part, again, all pretense and pleading. Master, my brother couldn't have known how dangerous the back mountain is. It's not like he meant harm. Sebastian cut him off cold. He's been at the sect for over 10 years. How could he not know about forbidden zones? His face was stone, eyes sharp as blades when they landed on me. My gaze flicked to Daniel's. And there it was, a barely there smirk, cold and cruel. In one motion, I lunged forward with my sword. All of this is his fault, his lies, his tricks, him blinding the master. The blade didn't end him. My cultivation level was nothing against Sebastian's. But as I was thrown back, my sword grazed Daniel, and in that split second, I saw it, the words on his mind. This so-called elder is just a disposable pawn. Why hasn't he died yet? He's ruining my favorite couple's romance. If the cannon fodder doesn't cause trouble, and he doesn't attempt to assassinate the protagonist, how could the master feel sorry for Daniel? And later, how could the master be extremely disappointed in him and take his sword bone? Brief as it was, those words sent my world spinning. But even this brief moment was enough to turn my world upside down. 5. I spat blood over and over, knocked flat by Sebastian. Even if I didn't confess, the sect had already accepted Sebastian's verdict. My guilt was sealed. I was punished brutally. My body was a map of whip marks, yet they threw me straight into another mission before I could even heal. Kill 10 peak Gene Dan stage beasts outside the sect and return with their cores. But after dragging myself back, my arms still clutching the white jade hairpin meant to beg for forgiveness from my master, I was met with a knife aimed at my chest by the one I admired most. I stood frozen on the cliff's edge, numb. This was the only road back to the sect. And there he was, Sebastian, waiting for me. He didn't even bother to wait inside the gates. When I first saw him standing there, my heart leapt. I thought maybe he'd finally seen sense. Then Sebastian spoke, cold and clear. Michael, your younger brother's foundation was ruined because of your last guidance by the heavenly demon. To restore him, you'll need to give up your sword bone. I took an instinctive step back, shocked, staring at him like he'd lost his mind. So, you're saying, my life for Daniel's? He looked at me without flinching, eyes heavy with sorrow. What you did, you have to pay the price. That wasn't me. My eyes burned red as I fought to explain. He flew off on his own. I didn't even touch him. After that, I never spoke to him again. How could I have told him to go to the back mountain later? The hurt welled up inside me like a flood. I wanted to lay it all out at once, clear and complete. If only Sebastian knew the truth, he'd understand. He wouldn't. I screamed it in my mind 1,000,000 times over. Why won't you believe me? But Sebastian just closed his eyes, then opened them. That cold, empty stare back shattered every dream I'd held. He said it softly. Michael, stop defending yourself. Right, the word wasn't explain, it was defend. Some things, he'd already decided in his heart the moment it happened. No matter how long we'd been together, he still didn't trust me. Why? Why did you raise me yourself, teach me magic, train with me every day? Isn't it supposed to be you who believes in me the most? Sebastian, you're my master. After over a decade of training, I said his full name for the first time. I stared at him, eyes wide with disappointment. Why won't you just trust me? All those years of care, all that loyalty between master and disciple, they're worth crumbling piece by piece. My chest heaved with rage. I took several deep breaths, then drew my sword toward the master who'd raised me. As you command, sir. I'd never disobey. But Michael carries a blood debt that's haunted him for over 10 years. Never once has he forgotten. You want my life? Fine, but once I've avenged my parents, I'll come to Jade Void Sword Sect myself and offer it up without hesitation. 6. He knows it all. He understands every bit of it, but he won't listen. All he sees, all he feels, just his little disciple's life. The man with black hair like a celestial's, long lashes lowered, paused for just a breath. Hope flickered in my chest. Then his thin lips parted. No, tears spilled anyway, red-tinged and hot. I raised my sword to him. If the Frostblade Master can't wait, then take it yourself. For a split second, his eyes wavered. Then he nodded, drew out his sword, pale as jade. The hilt once held a jade pendant I'd woven myself. The prize from my sect's grand tournament, won after relentless effort. Now that priceless jade was traded in for some plain old good luck charm from a roadside stall. I shut my eyes. Couldn't bear to watch. The same move, the same rhythm, so familiar. Once, he'd taken my hand and taught me each strike, one by one. Right now, the one closest to me is drawing steel against me. My master coming for me, all because of another disciple. The gap in our cultivation was too wide. Even as a prodigy who reached Golden Core in just over a decade, I still couldn't match him. The blade sliced through the sky, and my robe turned red in an instant with blood. I was flung backward, crashing hard into the cliff's edge. skidding down through dust and debris like a broken doll. Sebastian followed right behind, the sword pressing against my throat. After all, Michael was the disciple he'd personally brought back to the mountain and trained for years. So, Sebastian just couldn't bring himself to be too harsh. "I won't kill you, just do as I say. Let me take your sword bone, heal your little brother's wounds, and I'll forget everything that came before. Michael, you're still my disciple, the true heir of Jade Void's sword sect." He lowered the blade and gently brushed my cheek. His eyes flickered with something like pity. "With your talent, even without your sword bone, given time, and with me watching over you, you'll be golden core again in 100 years. The man who'd always been cold, aloof, the ice frost sword sovereign, now crouched beside me, his robes soaked in my blood, speaking softly for the first time, trying to soothe me like a child. But he was just trying to sweet-talk me into death. I stared at him with a sneer in my eyes. I couldn't hold it in. I burst out laughing, so loud the tears and blood trembled down my face. "I didn't do it, and I won't give it up. Kill me if you must." His gaze froze, staring right through me, unblinking, his fingers clenched tight, hand rising high into the air. I tilted my head back, ready to face death with grim resolve. Then he said, "I'm not killing you. Go, master." The rest slipped past me before I could catch it. Daniel arrived in a flash. He came on the jade barge Sebastian had crafted, landing with one foot down and immediately grabbing his master's sleeve, sobbing like a child lost. "Don't blame my older brother. He was only thinking of my cultivation. I'll just die." "But he carries the sword bone. Our Jade Void Sect's future." He collapsed into Sebastian's arms, wailing like his heart had broken. Sebastian didn't flinch. But when his gaze lifted and locked onto Daniel's head, the hand clutching his blade tightened hard. My chest lurched, suddenly remembered everything she'd seen after last encountering Daniel. Could it be? In Daniel's wide-eyed shock, a blood-streaked hand snatched at his robe. 7. Sophia's amber eyes half-closed with a lazy smirk. "Well, I knew you'd look good in red." Our eyes locked, lifeless stillness meeting a storm of shimmering fire. He pulled me up. My whole body tensed, but I didn't fight it. Such a good little disciple. That familiar nickname sent a jolt through me, straight to the memory of him. The cold weight of my spine stripped bare, hanging from a tree like meat on a hook. Helpless, waiting to die. In an instant, my breath faltered. The corner of my lip split open, blood seeping slowly down. "Jonathan, hurry up." But before we even reached the medicinal pool, I couldn't hold it in anymore. A huge mouthful of blood gushed out of my mouth. My chest heaved laboriously, like a broken bellows. His arms tightened around me. He didn't hesitate, just carried me straight into the pool. "The medicine's too painful, you should leave." But Jonathan didn't budge. Not even a step, and instead pulled me hard against his chest. "I was wrong. I'll take the punishment myself." Jonathan, seeing me wince in pain, did it again, his forearm offered to me, as he had countless times before. Seeing me hesitate, he raised a brow and leaned in. So close his breath brushed my ear. A voice like something old, ancient, and dangerously sweet. "Can't bring yourself to bite me?" "Yeah. Can't bear to. After my parents passed, the people I've ever met in my life add up to less than just one person, Jonathan." Sebastian raised me. "I don't blame him. He's my master. The one who taught me swordplay and magic, the legendary sovereign of the Frostblade. Back then, I looked up to him like a god, thought that was love. But if I had to choose between loyalty as disciple or surrendering my heart, I'd never let the celestial man I worshipped fall into the dirt of mortals. Gods are above us, after all, even when they care. It's not meant for someone like me. But Jonathan's different. He feels desire. He knows emotion. He's just like me, flesh and blood, human. The robe sleeve, soaked through with the potion, went sheer. I reached out and hooked my fingers around his neck, eyes burning red from biting back pain. Looking at him, voice trembling, "Jonathan, it hurts so bad. Can you kiss me? Please." The boy's eyes were red-rimmed, clear and bright, his reflection staring back through tears that trembled on his lashes. In the end, he gripped my waist hard, pressing into me as agony shot through bone, and kissed me. Today, Jonathan isn't walking away from me. Ever since Daniel got his sword bone replaced, his cultivation has skyrocketed. Yet he still falls short of half the natural talent his older brother once had. And he's arrogant, moody. Within days, the whole sect was whispering complaints. Someone finally worked up the nerve to go straight to Sebastian with a grievance. But he didn't care. As a result, even his reputation within the sect began to crumble. But none of that mattered to him anymore. That day, after leaving with Daniel and the Swordbone, he'd meant to go back for Michael. Then Daniel suddenly coughed up blood. Amid a storm of angry messages in his head, Daniel's quiet strength, his loyalty felt like gold. "Master," he said softly, "I know you're worried about the elder brother. Go get him, I'll be fine. I'm not gonna die anytime soon. It's just last time, never mind. It's all behind us now. He's a true immortal cultivator, and I'm still just at the chi cultivation stage. Still, there's no way I can't hang on until you come back for me." So sweet, so thoughtful. A flicker of guilt stirred in Sebastian's chest. Then he remembered last time, Michael had been reckless, tricked Daniel into going to the back mountain, and got the Swordbone only to atone for it. Still, as his master, he couldn't keep letting him off the hook like this. Fine then. Michael's hurt, but still alive. He'd wait, just wait until Daniel was healed and fully bonded with the Swordbone. Then he'd go for him. Healing took time. Fragile, vulnerable, painfully slow. By the time Daniel had mostly integrated the Swordbone, half a month had passed. He arrived on his flying sword, rushing down to the cliff's base. All he saw was bloodstains scattered across the ground and scraps of pale fabric from that day. Michael, gone. He knew he wasn't dead. The soul lamp in the sect still burned. But to vanish like this? He never expected it. Even knowing he was alive, the shock sent a spike of rage through him, and Sebastian spat out a gush of blood. It hit the ground, mingling with the old stains beneath. He stood frozen in place, his chest hollow, like something essential had been ripped away. Sebastian returned to the sect, and Daniel came rushing toward him from afar, eyes sparkling. But through the figure before him, he saw Michael, his first disciple. Back then, that little boy used to wait every day at the mountain gate, breathless with hope for his return. "Master, hasn't the eldest brother come back yet?" Daniel sounded concerned. But above his head, the chat stream was a storm of vulgar taunts. "A background character like you actually gets Daniel's attention? Not bad for a corpse. Master is our Daniel's main squeeze. Why waste time on that disposable elder brother? Focus on Daniel, he's the chosen one." Exactly. Background characters exist only to die for the protagonist. The words blaring in front of him were a chorus of accusations against Sebastian. Listening to them call Michael disposable and Daniel the chosen one, he felt something twist inside. For the first time, doubt crept in. Was it really worth it? Even if Master had prophesied a world-ending catastrophe before his death, was sacrificing my disciple, sacrificing someone I cared about, truly justified? Was this sacrifice even worth it? He wasn't stone. He'd always known the love in his disciples' eyes. But they were master and apprentice. There were rules, boundaries he couldn't cross. Even Daniel's arrival had two reasons. One, he was the chosen one from the chat. The other, well, maybe to push Michael away. But only now, after losing him, did it hit home how wrong he'd been. When Daniel stepped closer, Sebastian flinched and pulled back. Then he called for the disciples to begin searching immediately for Michael's whereabouts. He always prided himself on being impartial, never letting personal matters sway the sect's power. Even when a disciple begged him through tears, asking to use the sect's influence to track down the killer of their parents, he'd refused with cold conviction. But now, that hollow ache in his chest was screaming at him. He had to find Michael, no matter what. Thinking back on Michael's accusations that day, this time he wouldn't question him again. Yet he never saw it coming. The reunion he'd been longing for would happen at a disciple's wedding, right in front of his own eyes. In the pitch-black chaos of a dream, I stood alone in the center of a glowing sphere, surrounded by strange, translucent frames filled with text. Ghostly and eerie. Daniel's gonna save the world one day. A cannon fodder like Michael? He's gotta die, doesn't he? Michael's swordbone was made for Daniel from birth. Just a tool. Why struggle? Just quit and vanish. Soon the world will collapse. The apocalypse is coming. Sacrificing one cannon fodder? No big deal. The heavenly demons already drawn to Daniel. Now just a weapon. Once we take Michael's sword bone, Daniel be the prodigy who saves us all. All the frames spun around me like a storm, each one delivering my fate with indifference, disgust, numbness, or worse, excitement. Then I saw Sebastian hesitating, his face tight with doubt, Daniel's eyes alight with hunger, gleaming with anticipation. And finally, a message flickered above. Sebastian made up his mind. Still hesitating? One man? Or all of existence? For Sebastian, the three realms outweighed me by far. He no longer hesitated, not because it had already happened, only because he'd sentenced me to death in advance. His expression was sorrowful. Michael, your younger brother is the one destined by heaven. Fate cannot be defied. And you, no matter how hard you fight, you're just a speck of dust, powerless against the heavens. He drove his sword into my neck. Blood poured out in rivers as he carved open my body and took my bone blade. I didn't resist. I'd lost all will to fight. This life, I'd never get revenge now. His eyes held a flicker of pity. Deep, raw, heartbreaking, yet his hands, so pure and clean before, were soaked in my blood. He pulled me close, reaching to carry me away. Then Daniel collapsed. He let go of me to catch Daniel instead. Master, I can't breathe. My chest, it's tearing apart. I don't think I'll make it. Michael, stay here for now. Your master will return soon to take you. He gave me one long, lingering look before turning away, cradling Daniel. Me and Daniel. He'd abandoned me again, just like before. I waited 7 days. He broke his promise, never came back, left me alone on the cliff's edge, slowly consumed by death. How ironic, after everything he put me through, I was still waiting for him to come rescue me, struggling, aching, furious. Just as I was slipping into death, Jonathan showed up. He said I was pretty, that I'd been born to be his disciple in the joyful sect. Said if he'd found me, then my life and death should be in his hands. He took me from one healer to another, running all over the land. I'd lost my innate sword spirit. Every doctor said there was no hope. Even if they saved me, this life would be over for cultivating immortality. I refused to accept that fate. But if I can't avenge my family, what's the point of living? Jonathan said nothing. Just kept pushing forward, each time meeting fresh disappointment. Finally, I gave up, lying on the spirit-powered carriage. Tears streamed down my face, blurring my vision. Jonathan, just leave me behind. Let me die. Look at me now. Unfinished vengeance. No future. I'm better off dead. I've been thinking about my parents. If you're truly kind, kill my enemies for me. I'll come back in another life to repay you. The man behind me stayed silent for a long time. Long silence hung in the air. Then a quiet chuckle broke through. Michael hasn't returned to the joyful sect yet, and doesn't even know their rules. The man leaned in, those almond-shaped eyes inches from his face. A cold, sharp fragrance wrapped around me. Overpowering, almost intoxicating. Life and death, despair. All vanished from my mind in that moment. All I could feel was the dizzying shock of how far beyond my limits this had become. What the hell kind of rule is that? In the harmonious sect, master and apprentice, partners, so we're not even married yet. You're not allowed to die. He lifted my chin and kissed me. It wasn't a tender kiss. More panic than passion. But in that instant, it silenced every frantic thought racing through me. A strange warmth bloomed beneath the fear. Later, Jonathan took me to the Valley of 1,000 Insects. I'd been begging for nearly a month. Yet the mood swing-switching poison master never showed his face. Frustrated, I suggested we just leave. Jonathan reached out and pinched my cheek, then whispered with a cold smirk, "You got guts." Me? Huh, after all that sweet talk over half a month. Just walk away? Not a chance. My chest tightened. You? What are you even doing? The man, unnaturally handsome, curled his lips into a wicked smile, eyes sparkling like stars. Michael, want to do something naughty? That night, the two of them scaled into the Valley of 1,000 Insects. More accurately, I was strapped across Jonathan's chest and carried in like a sack. Endless trees loomed above, bristling with traps and the constant buzz of insects, or maybe just the dry rustle of tiny jaws gnawing through wood. So many traps. You're not even. Before I could finish, Jonathan lit a torch, brutally straightforward. A single flame roared to life, setting fire to the Venom Doctor's meticulously cultivated nest. If he hadn't lunged out fast enough, half the place would have burned down. The Venom Master gasped in outrage, but froze the moment he saw me. His pupils widened. Born with a sword spirit, he stumbled forward, almost uncontrollably. You're Michael, the missing disciple of the Jade Void Sword Sect. Missing? I didn't answer, just looked up at Jonathan. Our eyes locked. A flicker of irritation flashed in his. He snorted, then said, Jade Void Sword Sect? I found you. I own you now. The Venom Doctor stammered. You still want treatment. Maybe it was Jonathan's presence that had him on edge, or maybe the heavenly swordbone really did have a pull. Either way, the poison physician agreed to treat my wounds, but I was too badly injured. Standard healing methods wouldn't cut it. The doctor offered another option. Poison to fight poison. Injury to nurture injury. I can't promise this'll work, but we could try. What do you say? Our eyes locked in silence for a long moment. Then both Jonathan and I spoke at once. Do it. The injury ran too deep, though, to absorb the medicine. My body needed to circulate energy through martial cultivation. Without my sword bone, all my training was gone. No way to move the chi without outside help. I hadn't even grasped what he meant when Jonathan's expression darkened. The poison doctor sneered as he looked at Jonathan. You're not the one who picked up this little apprentice of yours? Just find someone obedient to serve as your furnace vessel. No such thing had been found, because Jonathan didn't trust anyone else. I said nothing. Is there no other way? Jonathan reached out and gently pinched my cheek. My face had thinned so much it was almost hollow. His gaze softened, warm in a way he didn't even notice himself. I'll circulate the energy for you every day myself, he said. You don't have to worry. 11. Healing had begun, but it was healing slow. Honestly, I'd overheard what the poison expert said to Jonathan after leaving. Compared to furnace reforging, Hahuan Sect's dual cultivation is much faster. You can heal Michael yourself. But once Jonathan stepped inside, he didn't say a word. I wanted so badly to ask him why. Not that the master-disciple bond in Hahuan Sect is, but since he didn't say anything, I just had to pretend I hadn't heard a thing. Until my mind went unsteady, my body weakened by poison, and one whispered master sent a surge of hatred rippling through me. That night, I finally found myself held in Jonathan's arms, submerged in the medicine bath. I murmured into Jonathan's ear, Jonathan, why the hell are you being so damn nice to me? Jonathan held me close, his voice a quiet murmur, as if saying, I've never been good to you. If I had been, I'd have come back sooner, so much sooner. Even if you hated me, I'd still pull you away from him, lock you safe in my arms. Murmured low, as if saying, I've never been good to you. If I'd been kind, I would have come back sooner than this. Even if you hated me, I'd still pull you away from him and lock you right here with me. All right? That's perfect. No one's ever been better for me than you. 12. His injuries weren't even close to stable yet, and Jonathan drops a bomb on me. You actually found it? I grab his wrist hard, eyes sharp with urgency. He nods, then hands me a memory crystal. The crystal belonged to a disciple from the Joyful Sect. Ella, that coy little temptress, grinning as she casually coaxed the info out of the guy in just a few words. So what if some mortals died? What's the big deal? They dared to fancy 2 girls and refused us. My third brother lit their homes on fire, that's all. We're gods. Isn't it only right they offer up their finest? Who even dares to resist? A mere mortal trying to play hero for them? Pathetic. Ella smirks, her eyes glinting like silk, making the man's knees go weak. He barely takes a step toward her before he doubles over, clutching his gut, blood splattering onto the ground. Ella just tilts her head and wipes the blood off her triangular mark with calm disdain. You're trash. How dare you even touch your auntie? How funny. Then she spins around, switching from cold to sweet in an instant, flashing a dazzling smile as she bows toward the memory crystal. All of the sect's 1,000 disciples out there, Ella takes top prize. Well then, thanks for the reward, master. The image pearl shuts off, and Jonathan's grip tightens around my hand. Rage churns in my chest like a storm. I finally found the one who killed my parents all those years ago. Jonathan, thank you for helping me, but the words of thanks never finish. I have nothing to give, no way to repay what he's done for me. He must sense my thoughts. He lifts a hand and gently cups my chin. His eyes spark with something fragile, a quiet tenderness swirling deep inside. I saved you, so now you're mine. I'll help you get revenge, and you'll come with me to pleasure. Michael, we were made for each other. 13. Jonathan's gaze always landed on me, thick with a kind of love and pity I couldn't quite understand. But that didn't matter. What mattered was he wanted to bind himself to me as a Dao partner. My brow twitched sharply, and before I knew it, my voice rose. You're serious? You really want to make me your Dao partner? Jonathan reached out, gently lifting a strand of white hair from my face, the lingering mark of too much medicinal potency. His eyes softened as they lingered on my face, like he was seeing something utterly rare in this world. I'll declare it to the 3 Daws and 6 realms. Michael is Jonathan's fated Dao partner across 3 lifetimes. No one dares to deny it. Still, you're not willing, are you? His amber eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of danger in the gaze. But I wasn't afraid of him at all. I laughed. Not that I'm unwilling. Just, my vendetta isn't settled yet. How could I rest in peace? He reached out, brushing my pulse, still weak and trembling. Healing takes time. Now that you know where your enemy is, can't you wait a little longer? Besides, even if Demon Sect isn't particularly strong, they've got plenty of disciples. Going alone would be risky. Usually Jonathan was carefree in how he dealt with people, but now, talking about me, his eyes were full of caution. How could I not say yes to someone like that? I smiled at him warmly. So, his amber eyes sparkled, dangerously playful. His fingertip lightly lifted my chin. Now that you're mine, the entire Huanzhong is your stronghold. On the day of revenge, every soul in Huanzhong will stand by your side. Myself included, Sophia. I'll be at your back. My heart felt like it was sinking into a hot spring. The warmth burned through me, tears spilling over, thinking back on everything. Yes, even after all that pain, hope really does return at last. Why re you crying on such a good day? He wiped my tears gently. But I didn't stop, just lunged into his arms without care. And then, safe in his warmth, let myself cry. Really cry. For the first time in forever. He didn't pull away, just held me close and whispered softly, "Cry all you want. I'm right here, every last bit of me. My pain, my sorrow." Unraveled in front of Jonathan, raw and unfiltered. I never believed in soulmates or grand promises, but I do believe in Jonathan. 14. The Demon Sect's bonding ceremony. Everyone from the 3 realms to the 6 paths with a name and fame has shown up. Even the Yushi Sword Sect sent representatives. Sebastian and Daniel were among them. To everyone's surprise, the usually silent master of the Xuanchuang Sword Sect was now frantically asking the Hahuan disciples about the sect leader's partner, until one disciple sneered and said, "Our master's name is Michael. Sounds familiar to you, master of the Xuanchuang?" Sebastian froze. His breath caught, his mind blank. The ceremony began, music swelling in celebration as Jonathan and I stepped forward, hand in hand, dressed in red wedding robes. Jonathan's already devastatingly handsome face looked even more unreal in the bridal attire. Enough to leave people staring, dazed. He whispered softly into my ear. "Pretty impressive?" I blushed and nodded dumbly. So much so that even Sebastian, standing down below, didn't notice. Jonathan raised a hand, bowing to the crowd. "Thanks for coming all this way, on such short notice, to witness Jonathan and my disciple Michael's bonding ceremony." The moment the name was spoken, murmurs rippled through the gathering. "Michael? That name. I swear I've heard it before somewhere." "You forget, Michael, the first disciple of Jade Void Sword Sect with a sword bone, was supposed to be that guy. He's been missing for half a year." "A missing disciple from Jade Void Sword Sect? How'd he end up becoming both the heir and lover of the consort sect's master? This doesn't add up." The man sneered, his eyes flicking towards Sebastian and Daniel. "Daniel's been in seclusion for days. He hasn't even heard. Rumor has it, not long after Michael vanished, his little brother turned out to have a sword bone too. A sword bone appears once in a century. How could two show up at the same time? He stopped mid-sentence, suddenly realizing something. His gaze snapped to Daniel. Daniel frowned, unease creeping into his face as he tugged at Sebastian's sleeve. Before he could grab hold, the man stepped forward and bellowed, "I refuse this binding ceremony." I turned at the sound. There stood Sebastian, eyes blazing red. My brows instinctively knotted in response. "Master." Hearing that word, Sebastian surged forward in 3 quick strides, voice trembling with emotion. "Michael, your master has come to take you home." But I didn't even glance at him. I turned instead to Jonathan. "Is this the gift my master sent me?" In cultivation circles, a binding ceremony is like marriage in the human world. This was too big for Jonathan not to know Sebastian would come. Jonathan arched an eyebrow and chuckled lightly, brushing his fingertip against my slightly irritated brow. "You're bound now. Why still call him master? Shouldn't it be husband?" Before I could respond, Sebastian couldn't hold back anymore. "Jonathan, you bastard of the consort sect. You've been lying to Michael all along, or else he couldn't be." The consort sect's place in the cultivation world was always awkward. Not quite righteous, but not outright evil either. So, when it came to Jonathan's cultivation pact, both the righteous and the wicked factions gave him some respect. I stepped forward, placing myself directly in front of Jonathan. I lowered my gaze to Sebastian. He'd never shown much emotion before, but now his eyes were red, pleading with me like a man on the edge. "Who the hell do you think you are? You don't get to speak ill of my master." 15. Sebastian's face twisted in shock. "Michael, I'm the one who's your master. Has he been using some kind of dark magic on you?" I raised an eyebrow with a smirk, the way he moved just barely hinting at 3 parts of Jonathan's power. If twin cultivation counts as black magic, then yeah, I guess it was. Sebastian, the elegant and otherworldly master of the Xuanchuang sword, was completely frozen in place at this moment. His lips moved, trying to form words, then only one came out. "I came back for you. I never left you behind." "Me? Oh? Really? When exactly did that happen?" He went silent again. The proud, icy man hung his head, like some broken stray dog, utterly humiliated. Around them, guests either gawked or whispered behind hands, their prying stares making Daniel's face burn red with embarrassment. The scene replayed, his eyes blazing crimson as he lunged at me with sword raised. "I'll kill you, Michael!" Sebastian cried out, reaching to block the blow. But Jonathan stepped in and intercepted it. "What are you doing, Michael?" Jonathan sneered. "He's my apprentice. None of your business." Michael's in danger. If you really cared about him, wouldn't he have a sword soul by now?" The 2 locked eyes, the guests leaning in, ears pricked. Meanwhile, our fight was already over. My sword rested at Daniel's throat. He stared at me with pure venom, like something clawed up from hell. But when I saw the text above his head, I froze solid. Wait, Michael's been reduced to ash. How is Daniel still outmatching us? How the hell does the author even write this? The master's been established as the main guy, yet he's still sucking up to the expendable side character? What's Daniel even doing here, some kind of third wheel? I know. In the original, there was all this quiet tension between the 2 leads, but then it just fizzled out. A bunch of us started writing our own endings. I remember. The main love interest's name was Michael. So what about the savior arc? The original was just a little sweet romance. No savior plot at all, not even a proper villain. Honestly, if you gotta name one, Jonathan counts as half, cause he went full mad with love and almost killed Sebastian. Huh? Shouldn't he have killed Michael? Oh. She loved him too much to actually do it. The words no one else can see. Only me and Sebastian. The instant he made them out, Sebastian went rigid, eyes wide with disbelief as they snapped to Daniel. I'd still had a third of my caution left when I knew he'd save the world. Now, just kill him. 16. The sword plunged in, but a black shadow erupted violently from his body and lunged at me. The demon. It was supposed to be sealed in the back mountains of Jade Void Sect all along. The demon struck without warning. I barely dodged in time, narrowly avoiding injury. Sebastian charged forward with his sword. locking blades with the demon in a furious clash. Daniel saw the danger and turned to run. Think you can just flee? Hand back Michael's sword bone. Jonathan's crimson robe flared as his white jade fan shot from his sleeve. Graceful, swift, and fluid, like a startled swan taking flight, like a dragon gliding through water. Honestly, this was the first time I'd ever seen Jonathan fight with a weapon. Of all things, a fan? Fits him perfectly. In seconds, Daniel was pinned beneath his feet. Meanwhile, Sebastian's battle concluded. The demon glanced at Daniel, then turned and vanished into darkness. Jonathan let out a cold laugh. So the one who framed Michael and sent him to the back mountains is now hosting the demon inside himself? The Frostblade Master has some sharp instincts. Sebastian's face darkened. But then he turned his gaze toward me. Michael, we're not done sorting this out yet. I'm afraid today might take a little of your time. Take my time? He was clearly trying to disrupt the bond-making ceremony between Jonathan and me. I lowered my eyes, watching Daniel sprawled beneath Jonathan's foot. At that moment, his gaze still lingered on Sebastian. Master, I don't know how that demon got on me. I just couldn't stand you staring at Michael like that. You know me, Master, he begged desperately, but Sebastian's gaze never strayed from me for a single beat. Jonathan grew increasingly restless. I reached out and grabbed his wrist. Enough, Master Xian Shuang. If you're determined to purge the sect, the cliff below awaits. Go where you will. But do hurry. We wouldn't want to delay our bond-tying ceremony. His body trembled. Someone of such high cultivation now looked like he could barely stand. Michael, you're really going to choose him? I was the one meant to be yours. I silently finished his thought in my mind. Too bad he'd already destroyed it himself. I didn't look back at him, just raised a hand toward the door. Go on. He flinched in pain, fell silent, then closed his eyes. Gave up and walked out with Daniel, leaving the hall behind. Jonathan smirked. Well, lucky him. 17. The ceremony went on. Hand in hand with Jonathan, I became the envy of all 3 realms and 6 paths. And the old days? They'd be whispered across lands and seas. The next day, Sebastian climbed the mountain, face as pale as ash. Michael, he said, I'm here to return the blade bone myself. I wasn't there. Jonathan answered the door. Jonathan reached for the sword bone wrapped in red cloth, but he wouldn't let go. Locked in a tense standoff, I finally spoke up. If you're not willing to hand it over, just take it back. Sebastian's face went pale as he slowly released his grip. His eyes locked onto me in the room, still unseen. Michael, whether you believe it or not, we're bound by fate. Unbreakable. As long as you're willing, I'd take you back. Even if it means standing against the whole world. I was already fed up. Cut it out. I kicked the door open hard. The world, you say? Sounds so easy, doesn't it? To you alchemists, everyone beneath your path is just ants. But have you ever thought, what about those ants' children? Their families? Their parents? What do they even dream of? You ran from facing your feelings for me back then. Now you come with this talk of the world. So what? Your emotions are owed something by fate itself. If all so-called righteous immortals are like you, better not to practice at all. Sebastian was speechless. After a long silence, he finally said, voice hollow, Michael, you've changed. I snorted. No filter. Thanks to you. He didn't say a word after that, just left. Quiet, defeated. Jonathan reached out and pulled me into a hug, grinning like an idiot, giving me a little wink and a tease. My Michael's got real backbone. Never gonna sink to the level of those smug, hypocritical types. I gave him a dry look and shoved his hand away. This was the first time I'd ever turned him down like that. He froze. Michael, go on, I said. Spill it all, everything you've been holding back. He smiled, those damn almond eyes crinkling up like they always do. Michael, you want to know something? I'll tell you everything. I lowered my gaze to the jade fan at his waist, pulled it out, and unfolded it. The 4 characters on it read, Clear breeze drifting gently. My handwriting, no doubt about it. His expression flickered. Then he schooled his features. Michael, if I say this was fate, you don't have to talk. I won't push. But from now on, no more secrets between us. We'll just be 2 polite strangers playing the part of a married couple. Teen. I turned on my heel and walked away. The moment my back was to him, his hand shot out and caught me by the arm. Michael, our eyes locked. Just for a second. Then he looked down, defeated. Michael, do you know what it means to be the chosen one? Jonathan didn't see any subtitles. He wasn't the protagonist, but he was part of the story. He'd loved me for lifetimes, since before this life even began. But back then, my heart and soul were all for Sebastian. The author never wrote an ending, so we're stuck in this loop, over and over again. You've all lost your original memories. Only I still remember. I keep thinking, if time keeps restarting, maybe one day I'll get to you before Sebastian does. Save you, save your mother. But no. Not once. He just kept cycling through it all, carrying the weight of memory and hopelessness, and that first fan I wrote for him. Until one day, when he came back, he found something had changed. Daniel. Same thing happened between last life and this one, but I was too late. You were already dead in a pool of blood. His eyes burned red, hands trembling uncontrollably. Sebastian believed that Daniel was the chosen one, that they'd save the world. But instead, they killed you. You died. And the sky cracked open, the universe collapsed. Everything in existence went down with you. When I woke up again, I was back at Demon Sect. I'm the protagonist. The story moves because of me. Daniel was just a surprise, thinking he could steal my life and be with Sebastian. But I died. Everything burned to ash. This is what true world-ending catastrophe looks like. The accident. That's where it all began. You know, when I saw you covered in blood, lying in a pool, I thought, I'd come too late again. That beautiful fox cried so hard she could barely breathe, tears falling like stones onto my heart. Jonathan, you found me this time. All I got was him yanking me into his arms, hard and fast, with doubt in my heart. Finally, the answer came, not just touching, but breaking through, aching with truth and sorrow. 19. Outside Demon Sect, all disciples of Demon Sect emerged, following Jonathan to cover my back. Disciple Michael of Demon Sect here to seek revenge. The master of Demon Mountain stepped forward trying to negotiate, but seeing I was determined on vengeance, he finally had no choice but to hand over those disciples. They wept bitterly, kneeling on the ground begging for my forgiveness for their past wrongs. Once mighty giants now reduced to mere ants. Power has turned around, but all they feel is fear, not a shred of true remorse. No one survives. I looked toward the blazing sun on the horizon, suddenly missing home. After saying goodbye to the disciples of the Demon Sect, I flew back to the former site of the village on my sword with Jonathan. I'd expected ruins, but instead, it had been reborn as a new little settlement. Smoke curled from chimneys, children cried and laughed in play, and there was the familiar courtyard. I took each step closer, nearly seeing my mother wiping her hands on her apron, smiling as she called me to eat. My father sat at the table, scooping big chunks of rabbit meat into both my bowl and hers. Father, Mother, your son has avenged you. Aren't you coming in? Jonathan asked me. I shook my head. It's not ours anymore. But Jonathan took my hand and marched straight inside. Against the light, his amber eyes sparkled with warmth. Michael, this isn't someone else's home. It's ours. Only then did I realize Jonathan had sent people here to rebuild the entire village after he saved me. Even the spot where my old house stood had been painstakingly restored, using my descriptions from past lives, piece by piece. Jonathan, I've got a secret to tell you too. In his stunned silence, I laid it all out. The truth about Daniel, Sebastian, and that so-called stream of comments. I used to wonder why the story never had a proper ending. Now it hits me. Maybe it was all these wild twists and turns that brought us together in the first place. 20. Daniel never belonged in this world to begin with. After Sebastian removed his sword bone, he, who originally had low cultivation and an unstable realm, became an ordinary person. My consciousness woke up, and with Jonathan, we stepped into a new path. His unexpected presence naturally began to reshape reality. First, people started noticing he'd unconsciously forget things. Then, they began to stop seeing him altogether. In the end, only Jonathan, Sebastian, and I could still see him, hear him, feel him. He was alive, yet dead to everyone else. He screamed in anguish, racked with pain, regret, fear, until even the very story he lived in began to abandon him. He lost his mind. Sebastian came looking for me a few times. I refused to see him. Sebastian came to see me a few times, but I didn't meet him. Somehow later, he developed an inner demon. his cultivation stalled, and he got drunk every night until the wee hours. Years passed, and no one remembered the cold, aloof master of Jade Void Sword Sect, Xuanchuang. But only the disheveled, oddball drunk they called the sorrowful sot. I trained with Jonathan, fought alongside him to save the world. 500 years slipped by in a flash. On the day of Ascension, 9 blazing golden thunderbolts struck down from heaven, only to be shielded by a radiant glow born of good deeds. The path to enlightenment fulfilled, I rose into the heavens without delay. Dad, what happened after that? Later, they ascended into the immortal realm, cultivated for 10,000 years, and opened a rift in spacetime, then fell into a brand new world. And then? What happened next? Jonathan started a company, Michael adopted a pen name, and wrote a novel about cultivation immortals.